My Lord, Honorable Chief Justice, the RAGHVENDRA Singh CHAUHAN, the Honorable Judges, the Honorable Parliament Judges, the Chairman Bar Council, the Additional Solicitor General of India, the Additional Advocate General, the Public Prosecutor, the Assistant Solicitor General, the President High Court Advocates Association, the Registrars, the Director, Judicial Academy, Secretary, Telangana State Legal Services Authority, the law officers and other officers, Law Secretary, Madam Rekha Singh CHAUHAN, and family members of Honorable Chief Justice RAGHVENDRA Singh CHAUHAN, respected senior members of the bar, and junior advocate friends. The bar has assembled before the full court to bid farewell to His Lordship Chief Justice RAGHVENDRA Singh CHAUHAN, Honorable Chief Justice of High Court for the State of Telangana, on His Lordship's transfer as the Chief Justice of the High Court of Uttarakhand. Born on 24th December 1959 to Sri Dr. Pradyumna Singh CHAUHAN and Srimati Dr. Sushila CHAUHAN, my lords grew up in an atmosphere which enabled my lords to imbibe all the ideals and beliefs for which my lords' parents stood for. Academically oriented, both of my lords' parents followed the principles of equity of the humankind, which was inherited by the next generation. My lords was greatly influenced by his mother, Dr. Sushila CHAUHAN, who stood for the right cause all through her life. Influence of my lord's parents helped my lords to plain in himself equality of mankind, irrespective of wealth, caste, or creed. It is with these fundamentals in mind that my lords chose the noble profession of law. Though my lords graduated from Arcadia University, Pennsylvania, United States of America, in the year 1980, my lords pursued legal studies and completed LLB from the University of Delhi in the year 1980. My lords learnt the first nuances of law in the Rajasthan High Court, having started his career there as an advocate. My lords specialized in a variety of subjects, including constitutional law, service matters, and criminal law. My lord's dedication and hard work as an advocate representing the state of Rajasthan earned my lords a wide reputation. The call to the bench came in the year 2005, when my lords was appointed as Additional Judge of Rajasthan High Court on 13th June 2005. Thereafter, as a permanent judge on 24th January 2008. Subsequently, my lords was transferred as a judge of the Karnataka High Court on 10th March 2015. Our association with my lords began on 8th November 2018, on which day my lords was transferred to the Telangana High Court from the Karnataka High Court. Thereafter, my lords was appointed as the acting Chief Justice of Telangana High Court on 3rd April 2019 and as the Chief Justice of the Telangana High Court on 22nd June 2019. Right from the day my lords assumed charge, it was perceptible that my lord is a judge whose prime concern is the upholding of the constitutional rights of the citizen. More importantly, the personal liberty guaranteed to the citizen. Habeas corpus petitions were taken up on urgent basis. Anybody who alleged that there was a curtailment of his personal liberty was given a patient hearing, duly examining whether, in fact, the fundamental rights of life and liberty was guaranteed by the Constitution of India are violated. The event that the court found that there is infraction of the personal liberty, my lords came down heavily on the officers concerned. I had the privilege of appearing before my lords in many such matters and can certainly say that my lords had acquired a reputation of being called an Article 21 judge. Freedom guaranteed to the citizen was ensured through my lords' many judgments, and the people of Telangana always were assured that they would get speedy justice if they approached the High Court. My lord had woven a dream for the upliftment of every member of this bar and for the overall development of the judicial system of the state. My lords were largely successful in translating his dream into a vision and the vision into a wonderful reality. Though certain goals remain unfulfilled and are at a nascent stage, seeds sown by my lords shall definitely reap fruits in the coming years. All the work done and plans conceptualized by my lords will be taken forward in the right way. My lord's love for the state of Telangana is immense. On numerous occasions, my lords expressed from the bench that his state, that is the state of Telangana, should stand high and tall among all the states of the Union in terms of development and quality of living. Many a times, my lords were never hesitant to appreciate the efforts of the government towards this objective. At the same time, also guided the official machinery for better results. My lord's punctuality and work culture are worth emulating. There may be very few days when my lord's taken leave in his entire tenure as judge of this court. Even during the pandemic time, my lords has worked tirelessly and has set an example for every one of us to follow. My lord has a unique style of writing judgments. The eloquence, wisdom, and legal acumen are instantly palpable in my lord's judgment. The setting out of the facts, legal questions that arise for consideration, the application of the law to the given set of facts are sequenced in the most simple yet powerful and logical manner. My lord's command of the English language is extraordinary. Never has any member of the bar felt uncomfortable on account of language barriers. In fact, my lord has been a guiding force to all the members of the bar in terms of improvement of legal skills and acumen. My lord has dealt extensively in numerous cases covering various facets of law. I feel it is my responsibility to put a few of my lord's judgments, which are a reflection and testimony to the brilliance of my lord's legal exposition. The case of Jagat Singh Rathore versus State of Rajasthan and others, reported in 2008, SEC Online Rajasthan. The petitioner's hotel was demolished by the municipality before the time mentioned in the notice given to him to remove the illegal constructions and encroachments made by him. Lordships noted that the present case is a case akin to the biblical story of David and Goliath, where the individual has been pitted against the colossal state. His lordships observed, from the age of enlightenment to the post-modern world, the concept of inalienable rights or fundamental rights acts as a gravitational force binding the very concept of democracy. Held that in case where time has been given to comply with a notice, no coercive action can be taken by the authority during the time that has been given to a person to comply with the notice. Lordships held that the greater the power, the more judiciously it should be used, and such high-handedness, acts of arrogance, exhibition of executive fears, would surely shake the trust of the people in the government. It would also undermine the concept of democracy. If such acts are not prevented, democracy would certainly deliberate monarchy as paid by battle. Satish and others versus State of Karnataka, reported in 2016. This is the online Karnataka 6542. Lordships upheld Rule 6A of the aggregator rule, which required that an aggregator should have a fleet of minimum 100 taxis, either owned or through an agreement. As it is a legislative policy decision of the government, the same cannot be said to be violative of Article 14 or 91G of the Constitution. Rule 10C and 10D of the aggregator rules, which bestowed power upon the state to have access to the personal information about the passenger, was struck down by his lordship as it amounted to violation of right to privacy. The lordships held that the right to privacy is not only a human right but also a fundamental right under Article 19, and that India, being a signatory to international conventions, guarantee the right to privacy to the people. The Indian judiciary is legally bound to protect and promote the right to privacy. The right to privacy as a fundamental right was eventually affirmed by a 9-judge bench of the Honorable Supreme Court in Justice case Uttaswamy, Nazar versus Union of India and others. The case of R. Bhupati Reddy versus the Chairman Telangana State Legislative Council and others, reported in 2019, is the online TS 2258. The writ petition was filed where the petitioner challenged the legality of an order passed by the Chairman of the Telangana Legislative Council, disqualifying him as a member of the MLC. The Honorable High Court upheld the order, stating that the powers conferred upon the Chairman are not unfettered and that the overlapping powers is inevitable and not unconstitutional. The Indian Constitution does not expressly specify the heads of power to three different organs. Court held that there are 8 of the 10 scheduled to the Indian Constitution constitutionally valid, and Rule 7 4 of the members of the Rajya Sabha disqualification on ground of defection proves to be constitutionally valid. In the case of SRI.JUSTICE versus State of Telangana, WP 44808 of 2018, the detainee was allegedly to be repeatedly peddling ganja and hence was a drug offender under Section 2F of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. While analyzing the merits of the contention from both the sides, his lordships held that the easy availability of drugs has warped the lives of the young men and women in our society. In order to ensure a steady supply of drugs, these young men and women are prone to commit petty offences. Thus, the substance abuse triggers a series of petty crimes being committed by the young. On the other hand, the proliferation of drugs strengthens the drug trade, drug mafia, and the underworld. The money earned by the underworld fuels nefarious activities like prostitution. Therefore, what may appear on the surface to be a law and order problem, and a deeper analysis emerges as a public order. Hence, while dealing with the preventive detention cases for offences committed under the NDPS Act, the court has to be alive to the impact of the offence on society at large. The petition was dismissed on the aforesaid grounds and further observed that, having regard to his recent antecedents, the detainee is likely to indulge in similar prejudicial activities unless he is prevented from doing so by an appropriate order of preventive detention. Moreover, the court, by its reliance on judgments of the Apex Court, stated that while the previous bail orders are considered while issuing an order of detention, it cannot be said that the condition of the former orders was not taken into consideration. The case of Dr. Mir Asghar Hussain versus State of Telangana, reported in 2019, online TS 1449, revolving around the demolition of a 150-year-old palace, Tirum Manzil. Lordship observed that while it is important to plan for the future, it is equally important to protect, to preserve, and to promote the past. Consequently, the court restrained the government from proceeding with the demolition of the state structure. Case of Polepaga Praveen versus the State of Telangana, reported in 2019, SCC online TS 2090. The Honorable Court was presented with the critical question of whether the trial court was justified in imposing a death penalty on the appellant or not. The Lordship observed that the courts need to perform a balancing act between the aggravating and the mitigating circumstances surrounding a case without triggering a judicial. His Lordship further opined that the court should fulfill the cry for justice of the victim's family. The court must protect the society from the looming danger posed by the guilt, but however, must simultaneously weigh the evidence to see if the imposition of death penalty is the only option for the court, or a punishment can be chosen which would incapacitate the culprit, would deter others from committing such a crime in future, which would permit the society to reform the culprit and would still fulfill the need of the justice of the society. Lordship also stated that choosing a middle path of punishment permits the court to balance the twin aspects of Article 21 of the Constitution. While it limits the personal liberty of the accused, it does not deprive the accused of his life. Hence, keeping in mind the above factors, the Honorable Court reduced the sentence to life imprisonment, with the rider that the appellant shall not be granted any remission and shall not be released in his last. The case of Mr. Sultan Kuan versus the State of Telangana and others, reported in 2020 SEC online TS 179. The appellant, aggrieved by the decision passed by 11 single judge, approached the division bench of the Honorable Court headed by his Lordship, where the appellant challenged the continuation of the chairperson of the work board on the ground that his term as a member of the Legislative Council expired already. Hence, he has to vacate the office of chairman of work board, as well as in accordance with Section 14 of the Work Act. The Honorable Court, disagreeing with the past decision of the Honorable Bombay High Court, the words of the Act clearly indicate the exclusion of the member of Legislative Council cannot be interpreted otherwise, and hence the chairman of the board, by virtue of having been a member of Legislative Council, whose mention fails to find a place in the Act, not bound to vacate the office of chair. In T. Jeevan Reddy versus the state of Telangana and others, 5 writ petitions were filed challenging the cabinet decision of the Council of Ministers regarding the construction of the new Secretariat complex. The batch of cases which were decided by a common judgment was held by His Lordship that the said project is still in the conception and planning stage. The decision of the cabinet could not be considered as a final decision. The court also observed that, most essentially, since Hyderabad is no longer the common capital of the twin cities of Telangana and the state of Andhra Pradesh, as according to Section 5 of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014, the very question of allocation of government buildings in accordance with Section 8 of the said Act would no longer be alive. Furthermore, His Lordship stated that, keeping in mind the doctrine of separation of powers, it is not for the judiciary to decide as to how and when expenditure is to be incurred by the executive. His Lordship's efforts to uphold the valuable natural rights of one and all is reflected in a recent judgment delivered in the case of Rajesh Agarwal versus Reserve Bank of India and others in the number 191022. Petitioner in the said case approached the Honorable Court, agreed by the non-inclusion of principles of natural justice in the Master Direction on Fraud dated 1/7/2016, issued by the Reserve Bank of India, on account of which a decision was taken by the Fraud Identification Committee and Joint Lenders Forum to classify his account as a fraudulent account without giving him an opportunity of hearing. His Lordships, keeping in mind the facts and circumstances of the case, keenly examining the Master Circular, held that the principle of ADR from part of the principles of natural justice, to be read into the class 894 and 895 of the Master Direction on Fraud, and that the court is of the opinion that the said principles frame arbitrary, discriminatory, and irrational decision and protect an individual from the might of the state or its instrumentalities. His Lordship, in his distinct style of writing a judgment, observed that the principles of natural justice are like a clear sunshine which pervades and permeates into the deepest dark corners and spill the gems of injustice. His Lordship further held that not only the 3 branches of the state, but the state itself rests and progresses on the faith of its people. For when the faith of the people is shaken, the people may demolish the very foundation of the state. Connoisseur of art, my Lord gave utmost preference to the heritage of the state, culture and its beauty. As a fitting tribute, and as destiny would prefer, the centenary celebrations of this High Court building commenced under the leadership of my Lords. My Lords had ensured that this building should reflect the glory of its past. To this effect, has taken all possible steps in terms of restoring the grandeur attached to this marvelous structure. Significantly, this very building has an architectural connection with the birthplace of my Lords, that is the state of Rajasthan. An ardent lover of nature, my Lords ensured that the environs of this High Court are surrounded by the greenery, thereby providing a good workplace with the best irrigation. Man of highest courtesy, my Lords addressed the members of the bar as Sir and Madam, while holding the bench irrespective of their standing at the bar. These courtesies have left an indelible impression in the hearts of every member of this bar. Junior members of this bar are a loss on account of my Lord's transfer. They have expressed their deep feeling of loss my Lord's presence in the High Court. Appearing before the first court and being heard for a considerable length of time has given the junior members of this bar immense confidence, which will go a long way in shaping up their career. All of us shall be ever indebted to my Lord's contribution in shaping up the legal skills of the next generation of the advocates of this court. A man of good heart, my Lord is ever considerate towards the advocates of this state. Upon my Lord's initiative in the COVID-19 pandemic, the state government released an amount of Rs 25 crores to to be distributed to the needy advocates who were financially hit by the COVID pandemic. My Lord's love for the advocates is perceptible from the various measures my Lords had envisioned for the betterment of the legal fraternity. In spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, my Lords took the initiative of holding a regular court within few days of the lockdown and had entertained numerous matters concerning the light of the various sections of the social strata. My Lords monitored and guided the COVID preparedness of the state on a continuous basis and had passed various directions aimed at controlling the COVID pandemic. Several issues like the migrant labor, food security, and allied matters were taken up and appropriate directions were issued. My Lords took the courageous step of holding the courts physically, and for the past few months, my Lords held the courts part physically, part virtually. My Lords has to his credit his gigantic feat in terms of keeping the judicial light alive and illuminated. In spite of the shadow cast by the pandemic, it has been possible only on account of the great conviction and concern my Lords has toward the needy citizens. I have been part of this memorable event in the past 9 months, which shall go on as one of the most challenging periods of this court. I, on behalf of Bar, thank my Lords for guiding us through the troubled times, ensuring that the doors of this majestic court shall never be closed, however big the adversity may be. My Lord has been an inspiration for every advocate on account of the work culture, my Lord's practice, and the never-tiring nature. My Lords has the unique distinction of holding court on Saturdays too, to dispose of long pending criminal appeals, which was lauded by everyone. My Lord's transfer has come as a sudden development. The members of this bar are yet to reconcile that my Lord is leaving his loved state of Telangana. We wish my Lords a happy tenure in the picturesque and divinely state of Uttarakhand. The bar will surely miss my Lord's presence in this court. I, on behalf of the bar, would wish that the call to the High Court at Devi Bhumi will be a step closer to the apex court at Delhi. Till then, farewell. Thank you, my Lord.
My Lord, the Chief Justice RAGHVENDRA CHAUHAN, Lekha CHAUHAN, family members of CHAUHAN, my colleague Chief Justice Telangana High Court, Learned Advocate General and Additional Advocate General of Telangana, Learned Public Prosecutor of the State of Telangana, Learned Government Leaders and Assistant Government Leaders, Learned Additional Public Prosecutors and Assistant Public Prosecutors, Senior Advocates, Advocate K. Narasimha Reddy, Chairman, Bar Council of the State of Telangana, P. Suryakiran Reddy, President, Bar Association of the High Court for the State of Telangana, and the Additional Solicitor General, Registrars of the High Court, Member Secretary, State Legal Service Authority, Law Secretary, Director, Judicial Academy, Advocates, and staff of the High Court. Today we have assembled here to bid farewell to the Honorable Chief Justice on his Lordship's transfer as Chief Justice to the High Court of Uttarakhand at 9th August. His Lordship was born on 24/12/1959. He had his early education in India and later his Lordship studied from high school onwards till graduation in the United States of America. His Lordship was awarded a gold medal in BA History in 1980 by the Arcadia University, Glenside, Pennsylvania, USA. His Lordship then returned to India and studied in Delhi University and secured LLB degree in 1983. First division. His Lordship enrolled as an advocate on 13th November 1983 and practiced in special areas of criminal law, constitutional law, and service law. His Lordship was a panel lawyer for the National Institute of Western Railways, Central Excise and Customs Department, Directorate of Revenue Enforcement in New Delhi, United India Insurance Company, Income Tax Department, Department of Stamp and Registration State of Rajasthan, Rajasthan Agriculture Marketing Board, Jaipur Development Authority, Rajasthan State Roadways Transport Corporation, an illustrious career spanning over 20 years at the bar. Recognizing his lordship's legal acumen, his lordship was elevated as a judge of the High Court of Rajasthan, Jaipur bench on 13th June 2005. His lordship was subsequently transferred as a judge of the High Court of Karnataka on 10th March 2015. And later on 22nd November 2018, his lordship was transferred as a judge of the 10th High Court at Hyderabad for the states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. On the bifurcation of the said composite High Court at Hyderabad, with effect from 1st January 2019, to the High Court for the state of Telangana and the High Court for the state of Andhra Pradesh, his lordship was appointed as a judge of the High Court for the state of Telangana, 1st January 2019. On the transfer of the then Chief Justice of the High Court of Telangana, T.B. Radhakrishnan, the High Court of Calcutta, his lordship was appointed as acting Chief Justice for the High Court for the state of Telangana on 4th April 2019. His lordship was sworn in as Chief Justice of this High Court on 22nd of June 2009. His lordship's rich experience in working in the High Courts of Rajasthan and Karnataka made him an able leader and an able administrator, and he laid a strong foundation for the bright future of the new High Court of Telangana. He worked very hard, finally disposed of 2,300 cases, hardly taking any leave between 22nd November 18, when he was transferred here, till 24th of December 2020. Though there was a severe shortfall in the strength of judges in this High Court, thereby increasing dependency, which caused a lot of difficulty, his lordship tried his best to increase the disposals and improve the core infrastructure by taking the lead, by coordinating with all of us and holding frequent committee meetings to tone up the administration. Undaunted with the advent of COVID-19 pandemic, his lordship ensured that the High Court functions by enabling judicial work to be done through virtual mode from the home offices of judges in the High Court, and later encouraged even the district judiciary also to follow suit. Even committee meetings were held for the most part through video conferencing during this period. Our High Court is almost the only High Court in the country where all the judges functioned during the lockdown and after the lifting of the lockdown as well. About 50 junior civil judges and 2 district judges were appointed after completion of the recruitment process. About 20 courts, including 11 special courts for trial of cases with the POCSO Act, were inaugurated. His lordship is a voracious reader and a gifted orator. His lordship took an active interest in the training of judicial officers in the Judicial Academy and was constantly making suggestions and giving advice to the Board of Governors and the Director of the Academy. As Patron-in-Chief of the State Legal Services Authority, his lordship gave valuable guidance with regard to the activities of the said authority and participated in several programs organized by him. His lordship also persuaded the state government to allot 25 acres of land at each district headquarters for the construction of district judicial complexes to create principal district courts on par with the revenue districts as far as practical, to ensure that judicial officers do not suffer on account of annual transfers in this season of pandemic. His lordship even deferred the same by a year, showed his care and concern for the judiciary. Among his lordship's other notable achievements was creation of the COVID-19 fund for the employees, purchase of health insurance scheme to all outsourcing and contract employees of the High Court. His lordship also persuaded the state government to sanction 25 crores for the welfare of the advocate community. His lordship also inaugurated the High Court guest house with Navy Judges Complex. His lordship has great interest in history, art, and architecture, and has done a lot to improve the amenities in the High Court building, and with various additions ensured that in an aesthetic manner it is maintained with appropriate coloring externally and also in the courthouse corridors and other interiors. His lordship and Madam CHAUHAN treated all of us colleagues with unfailing courtesy and affection and showed a lot of concern for our family members as well. On behalf of myself and my brother and sister judges, I wish His lordship an equally successful tenure at the UTTARAKHAND High Court.
My learned brothers and sisters on the bench, Honorable Dr. G. Yetharaju, the President of the High Court Retired Judges Association, Mr. B.S. Prashad, the Learned Advocate General of the State of Telangana, Mr. A. Narasimha Reddy, the Chairman of the Bar Council of Telangana, Mr. T. Surikaran Reddy, the President of the High Court Bar Association and the Additional Solicitor General of India, Mr. N. Rajeshwar Rao, the Assistant Solicitor General of India, the learned senior advocates, the learned members of the bar, the learned registrars of the High Court, Mr. Santosh Reddy, the Law Secretary to the Government, Ms. Anupama Chakravarti, the Member Secretary, Telangana State Legal Services Authority, Mrs. Trimala Devi, the Director of the Telangana State Judicial Academy, Mr. Ramesh Babu, the Secretary, High Court Legal Services Committee, officers and staff members of the High Court, ladies and gentlemen. A farewell is a humbling experience indeed. It is humbling when the learned brother and the learned advocate general our praises of you. It is also a moment of revelation when you suddenly realize how short one's existence would be. Before you know it, it is time to pack and leave. I'm certainly grateful to my learned brother and to the learned advocate general for their compliments. It was only 2 years ago that I joined you, although it feels like only yesterday. And the sensation of a short stay is the index of how warm and kind you have been to me and to my family in your official capacity and in your personal ones. Thus, I am grateful to the Honorable Collegium for sending me to the High Court of Judicature for the state of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, initially as a puny judge and eventually recommending me as the Chief Justice of this High Court. I am equally beholden to the Honorable Collegium for transferring me to the Honorable High Court of Uttarakhand. For the transfer would give me an opportunity to take up the new challenges of another state, to see another beautiful part of our nation, and to increase the number of friends I would have across the country. It is going to be indeed an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to do my work to the best of my ability. I'm certainly grateful to all my learned sisters and brothers for their constant support and cooperation. Thanks to them, we were able to reach many milestones. Despite the pandemic, in spite of other high courts shutting down, we continue to function uninterruptedly. At the relevant time, we were the only high court in the country with all the benches functioning. We were the first high court to dispense with the summer vacation, set the trend for other high courts to follow. Due to the consistent cooperation, we have sailed smoothly through the roughest weather. The worst times brought out the best in all of us. When technicalities and virtual courts prevented access to justice, we invented the mobile man for video conferencing. When other state judicial academies closed, we introduced online classes for our training judicial officers. I'm glad to note that my brother and sister judges are totally focused on improving the institution and delivering speedy and inexpensive justice for our people. Of course, we are handicapped by the lack of infrastructure, but we on the bench have arisen to every challenge posed before us. I'm also indebted to my colleagues for their guidance in the different committees that we have. When I sought some opinion, I got sincere opinions. When I asked for advice, I had well-reasoned advice. When I pleaded for cooperation, I received the fullest cooperation. Thus, my colleagues have acted like catalysts and helped me in taking administrative decisions of far-reaching consequences. I would also like to record my appreciation for my dear brothers who sat with me as partner in my division bench and full bench. Their legal acumen, their insight into complex legal issues ensured justice for our people. Of course, the learned members of the bar have deeply contributed through our endeavors. I'm proud of our bar, courteous and a disciplined bar. A bar which is illuminated by senior advocates and is well stocked with young dynamic lawyers. I see a lot of potential in our bar. My request to the seniors is to guide the youngsters, and my advice to the youngsters is to shadow the seniors. After all, they are the storehouse of knowledge, experience, and wisdom. We must take advantage of the same. The young members of the bar have highlighted the plight of our people during the pandemic. Many senior members rendered pro bono service for the migrant workers, for the transgender community, and for the physically challenged persons. Through the PI jurisdiction, we could save our monuments, we could ensure trains for the migrant workers. With the assistance of the learned members of the bar, we could solve the intractable problems of the RTC workers and the problems of the holders of a fraud account. In the times to come, I'm sure we will face various challenges, but with the young members of the bar in command, I'm equally sure we'll smoothly chart the unknown terrain. We must, however, remember that there are no shortcuts to hard work. The advocate must be inquisitive like a detective, tenacious like a farmer, and precise like a surgeon. In the legal fraternity, we must walk the path prescribed by the Constitution of India. To leave the constitutional path is to venture into lawlessness, anarchy, and to enter the jungle Raj. Our foremost duty is to strengthen the weak against the strong, to protect the small fish against the larger ones. We must provide a shield to the individual citizen against the mighty power of the state. We have to protect and promote the rule of law and democracy. Plato, the famous Greek philosopher, writes in his book, The Republic, democracy eventually degenerates into anarchy. It is our foremost duty to prove the famous philosopher wrong. We survive and prosper as a nation if we concretize the dreams of our Constitution. Otherwise, we too shall totter and fall like a house of cards. The registry is a vital part of our judicial system. It is the lifeline of the system. Without an efficient registry, the bar and the bench are helpless. I'm grateful for the untiring service rendered by the Registrar General, Mr. Venkateshwara Reddy, and his team. Without their hard work, neither the running of the High Court would be possible, nor the holding of the South Zone Regional Conference, which we organized in February 2020, feasible. I'd like to thank each member of the registry for their commendable work. Like the frontline warrior, the members of the registry ensured that the High Court was functioning even during the worst period of the pandemic. Of course, we have lost a few members of the registry through the pandemic. My heartfelt condolence to the bereaved families. In Buddhist pantheon, there are the bodhisattvas. They are the unseen people who are capable of reaching Buddhahood, but they choose not to do so. They make this choice in order to lessen the pain and agony of the people around them. My office is staff and my court is staff, full of such bodhisattvas. I've been able to discharge my judicial and administrative work only because of it. I would like to record my gratitude towards my secretaries, Mr. Sarfraz, Mr. Srinivas Reddy, Mr. Narasimha Rao, and Mr. Shastri. Although my court and chamber staff is too numerous to be enumerated and mentioned individually, but I am indebted to them for their hard work and efficiency. Flitting in and out of Hyderabad, taking care of visitors and guests, even during the worst of the time, the protocol staff, headed by Mr. S. Sriman Narayan, has always shined like the polar star. I'm thankful to them for their tireless service at the oddest hour of the night. We are all mortals and thus prone to having health issues. But we are all safe in the hands of our medical protocol members. They stood by all of us judges like the Rock of Gibraltar. I'm indeed grateful to all of them for protecting our lives Last but certainly the first and the foremost important individual in my life, my wife, Rekha. Like it's an eternal partner, she has stood by me through the ups and downs of my life. Always patient, always smiling, always encouraging. She has tolerated all my temperaments and faults. I'm sure without her, I would not be sitting here. My daughter Aditi and my son Adit are my other lifeline support system. Their phenomenal knowledge, endless conversation, numerous talents, their questioning ability of the basic tenets of our life and our culture, their culinary skills keep me enthralled. Our children are certainly our assets. As I leave the portals of this historical high court, my only regret is that there are many unfinished projects which I have to leave behind me. For the benefit of the bar, I was keen on establishing an advocates academy near Nalsari. I wanted to construct a building for the learned members of the bar, a self-contained block, the campus. We need to start paperless courts. We need to enhance the number of judges in this high court. We need to increase the number of courts in the district judiciary. We need to provide better accommodation for our judicial officers and their staff members. In order to showcase the legacy of the Telugu-speaking people and of this particular region of India, we need to establish a High Court museum, as the other High Courts have already created their own museum. We need to infuse technology in our judicial system. I leave these unfinished dreams of mine for my colleagues and for the learned member of the bar concretize. I'm sure in a short time, we as an institution, the state of Telangana as an entity, will rise and shine on the national horizon. We as a nation have embarked on some new and ambitious experiments. Our posture requires a judiciary with alertness and flexibility. We as judges exist to ensure fairness for all and compliance with the law of the land without any fear or favor. Human life is short and our chance to do some good is rather brief. There can be no greater honor than in using the time well and in a useful purpose. May we all have the courage of our professional convictions and the will to live with scrupulous honesty and self-dignity. I'm certainly grateful to all of you for giving me patient listening. I'll now take my last bow. Thank you.